Okay, so what I'd like to go into now is how do you actually track player progress? As in, how do you have the story actually change based on what a player has visited and the choices they've made before? Now, to do this, we're going to be working in with syntax. Syntax being lines like this, where I've got this if visited function happening. Now, the syntax we're working with here is called SugarCube. It's a story format in Twine. Now, to check to see what story format you're using, you can just come down here to where it says test story 01. At the very bottom, there's a little triangle next to it. If I click on that, I have this change story format option. And in my list here, you'll see I'm using SugarCube, SugarCube 2 actually. Now, SugarCube 1 comes with Twine 2. I've gone and I've downloaded SugarCube 2, the latest version. All you need to do is Google upgrade SugarCube to Twine 2 or download SugarCube 2 for Twine 2, and it will walk you through the whole process for how to actually install that. But all your SugarCube syntax should work for SugarCube 1 as well. I just like using the latest version. Now, the other thing I've done is I've added some alternative detail here. So I've gone back to my hide having a twin node. And in this node, if you don't tell the sea captain that you have a twin, he'll tell you about Olivia and Orsino and about their households, and he'll hint that those two households probably aren't going to be too friendly to you in your current state, but he doesn't go into detail. However, if you reveal having a twin, he gets so excited and he proposes that you actually pass as your twin. You dress up as Sebastian and you join their households because with Orsino, he mostly hangs around with other lads as he's a young guy, so you will just become one of the lads. And if it's Olivia, she kind of likes being the main chick on the island and doesn't really want to have any other young ladies running about. She's kind of old-fashioned that way. And so if you're a young lad, you're also more likely to get hired. This is actually a very sexist island. But this is also based on a story written a very long time ago when things were very sexist. So, there's completely different text depending on whether or not you go for hiding having a twin or revealing having a twin. And now, if the other thing I've done is I've added these functions to the work for Olivia node, which basically changes the result that the player sees based on whether or not they've actually visited the hide having a twin node. So, for example, what that looks like, I'll just hit play here. If I call out for help and I decide to hide having a twin, so I ask if there's any work on the island instead of mentioning my twin, and I go to work for Olivia, what happens is her servant answers the door and it basically says, "No, we ain't got no work for you. You're just some street urchin. Go away." And then I've got this option that says return to the sea captain and ask for help. Now if I go back, and this time I say I do have a twin, and then I go work for Olivia, Malvolio again answers the door, but this time it actually gives me a job, and my options are now to either take the job or go work for Orsino instead. So how does this work, and how has that happened? What we've done is we've created this if visited function, and we're saying basically if the player has visited the node hide having a twin, then show this dialogue. Otherwise, else, if they haven't visited that, show this dialogue instead. And then I've ended that function. So just breaking it down a bit more, we have two less than signs. So the function starts with two less than signs. And then if visited, the node I'm referring to is in parentheses and it's got quotation marks. And then I close that starting function with two greater than signs. Now when I'm ready to add the else clause, else is just within two less than and two greater than symbols. And then this whole function ends with the end if statement. And that's all one word that has two greater than, or two less than and two greater than symbols. And it ends with a backward slash as well. and that's your correct syntax for SugerCube for creating alternative story results. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, because you'll see there's a couple more changed nodes here. The next thing I want to do in the next video is show you how to add images and how to add audio into your story. And this is where our folder structure that we talked about at the very start of the series becomes so important.